wind up turning into the Vision, but that's
got it. But that's the analogy he's trying to make, correct?
Right. His Man Friday.
Woo! Why is Kevin Smith carrying water for Max Anderson? Oh. Well, now that Max and Stan are on the outs, there's a law enforcement investigation because it also appears that Max Anderson had been baiting a honey trap for Stan, sending in nurses. Those nurses allegedly were taking naked showers with Stan, with happy endings, and then having them turn around and make sexual harassment claims against this 95-year-old man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he set up a honey trap, allegedly. And just as one crime crew is locked out of Stan's hilltop redoubt, a new cast of characters lands with an interesting character by the name of Kia Morgan. This guy, what do I know about him? Well, he's a pretty wealthy collector, world-class eccentric, and he's now got Stan Lee's ear, and he's up there calling the shots. He's up there videotaping everything and sending Stan's decimated financial records over to Tobey Maguire's brother, Vince. For those of you who don't know, Vince is a forensic accountant, and he's looking through all the financial records to try and find where all this disappeared money went. Well, Kia has also fired up the bad actors up at Stan's, but, when I say fired, I meant he fired them. He changed the locks on Stan's doors, and still, that's not stopping Max Anderson. In a last-ditch act of desperation, Max Anderson allegedly accosted one of Stan's trusted nurses as she got off her overnight shift on Sunset Boulevard. The nurse alleges that Max's lawyer had been calling and bullying her, and then she got threatening calls from Max himself. And finally, he rolls up to her in a strange car on Sunset Boulevard, offering her $50,000 in cash out of a bag in the front seat for her to sign a declaration alleging that Stan was being held hostage by Kia Morgan, J.C. Lee, and they were both torturing him up in his house in Beverly Hills. Crazy, right? Well, the nurse, a Muslim woman with a healthy regard for the truth, she didn't sign that declaration, nor did she take $50,000. And I've seen a videotape of her. Literally saw, she came back for her next shift, crying, shaking, in absolute fear of this Max Anderson guy, and retold that tale on videotape about the $50,000 offer for her to sign a declaration. Well, yeah. If she's lying, she's a better actress than most in Hollywood, I'll tell you that right now. Anyway, Stan Lee is being picked apart by vultures. In the end, it would be sad to see his daughter wind up homeless behind all these con man shenanigans, but then Stan really can't take it with him. And if he ever cared about his wealth beyond the Comic-Con cash before him, he'd be a billionaire like 10 times over. It's not so much that he's careless as he could care less. This guy has been on the bad end of deals, it seems, his entire life, because as we know, if he had done the right thing with his Marvel sale, he would be a billionaire. As it stands, they're saying most most of the reporting you can find, he's worth about $50 million. But how much of that $50 million is left with all this money floating through various shady LLCs and out the door? Oof. Could be millions. Could be a lot more. You know, when I think about it, this guy, Max Anderson, again, his bodyguard / road manager, he's done, in the last several years, he's done, 70 Comic-Cons and various events with Stan Lee? Well, let's run some math on that. Here's the scenario. Hey, Stan, listen, we got an event up in San Francisco. They're going to pay you $100,000. Well, old school Stan is like, $100,000? Let's go get that quiche. Let's go grab that money. Well, allegedly what Max Anderson did not tell Stan Lee in this theoretical situation here is that he's actually billing the San Francisco event organizers $600,000.
Wow.
And, yeah. And tossing down Stan a hundo. You see what I'm saying? These events, these Comic-Cons, most of the money flowing for those, when, signing memorabilia, take a picture with the icon in his wheelchair, blah, blah, blah. Most of that business is done in cash. So when the payment comes into the hands of a guy like Max Anderson, that too is in cash. So what the speculation is that if you do the math over 70 events at which he's being paid anywhere from $300,000 to $1 million per Comic-Con, Max Anderson could very well be sitting on a pile of cash totaling, by some estimates, $20 million. Can you see Stan Lee's fortune being frittered away? Can you see it? I sure can. And in the end, back to my original source on this story, which will be up on the Daily Beast tomorrow. Stan Lee's last days picked apart by vultures. In the end, Stan Lee's sole heiress, JC, could wind up pushing a shopping cart down Sunset Boulevard, and nobody, including me, wants to see that happen. You're listening to The Gray Zone. If you like what you're hearing, dash me off some ducats via PayPal. Give me $1, $2, $3, whatever you want. It's listener-supported podcasting. My PayPal's markebner59@gmail.com. Break me off a piece of lettuce, would you? It's all going back into the show. Did you guys get paid today, by the way? Yes, you did. Check your PayPal. All right? Okay. We're good.
Sweet. On it. Thank you, sir.
Indeed. So, big multimedia conflagration this weekend. Stan Lee story on the Daily Beast. I'm yakking about Patrick Swayze on the Reels channel tomorrow at 7 p.m. The Price of Fame. And a big bucket list item would be my debut appearance on one of my favorite shows, American Greed, on CNBC tomorrow in new season episode Murder Plot Meets Reality TV. I love American Greed. You guys watch that?
I haven't seen it.
Sometimes, yeah.
What about City Confidential? I'd love to be able to find that show.
I used to love watching Lockup on MSNBC, but they stopped showing it as much.
Yeah, Lockup Raw.
Wow.
Yeah. But American Greed, I've always wanted to do that show, and finally they got around to doing an episode on the story of Dalia Dippolito. And Dalia Dippolito if you don't know, was the subject of a book I co-authored with then Florida State Attorney Elizabeth Parker called Poison Candy. You can enjoy that book. They'll probably print you on demand a paperback from Ben Bella Books if you look it up on Amazon. Have at it. Dalia Dippolito was the woman who hired an undercover cop as a hitman to try and kill her husband. And let's just put it this way. It's Florida. She got stung in a sting by the local constables. And, Florida. Discovered in 1513 by the Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon, the patron saint of perpetual youth, who allegedly came here seeking its fabled rejuvenating waters. It was christened La Florida, or Flowery Land, for its exotic vegetation and boundless verdure. Today, though, it represents a narrow corridor between the people of North America, drawn to its warmth and facile money, the newlywed and the nearly dead, and the people of Central and South America, coveting unlimited opportunity or safe harbor, seeds and spores blown in on a wild wind. The cultural collision that occurs along this unintended isthmus produces a strain of a humanity that can best be described as florid, an exotic melange of hothouse flowers and preening psychopaths and gold-plated warriors and vulgarians of every stripe, channeled into a giant cocktail shaker and agitated to a high froth. Kremen and visionaries who appear interchangeable, beauty for the harvesting. Human orchids. Florida. Florida. Where the dusky Peruvian Egyptian hybrid Dalia Dippolito was unleashed onto an unsuspecting world. Dalia had a chance at a bright future in Palm Beach County, Florida, and she took that chance and gambled it as high as the table stakes would go, becoming an escort by age 19, parlaying those skills into work as a part-time madam, and sharpening her talons for the first easy score she could sink them into. Enter Michael Dippolito, a hapless ex-con, recently sprung from federal prison where he did 1.5 digits on a financial fraud beef. He's back in the workplace, bored at the office. He went on something called Eros.com. You been there?
No, not. I can't say I have.
What hooker sites do you frequent?
I'm not going to share that.
Okay.
The Huffington Post.
The Huffington Post, great. So he goes on to Eros.com and he orders up Dalia Dippolito. Sex. Oh, the sex was extraordinary. She rocked his world. She came to the office on that first trick and rocked his world. And in a 6-month span, Dalia moved in with him, convinced him to divorce his wife, married him, got her name on the deed to his townhouse, embezzled his money again and again and again in breathtaking ways, worked overtime with a small army of abettors to get his probation revoked, gaslighted him into believing that hoods and gangsters were out to get him, messed with his mind, announced herself pregnant with his child. And when all of that couldn't get him locked up and out of her life, she paid for someone